What is going on, ladies and gentlemen of the jury? My name is Jacemachine. I am fueled by coffee and driven by insanity. And today we're playing a little bit of StarMade. I've been working on this build all day, in fact. And we're going to show it off in a series of episodes. I did this on the Squadron server. I'm using the main shipyard that we have there. Someone was asking in the last episode, Jace, how do you get access to these creative blocks? The answer is by using a shipyard. You can make a shipyard any size. You can make a small one or a big one, but once you're using the shipyard, you can get access to the all the creative mode parts. At that point, in order to build it, all you have to do is make sure you have the components, and that's a lot of factory fiddling. And but you know, it's doable. And the more complex you make your ship, the more parts you gotta make. Just keep that in mind. The more different parts you have to make. So what I'm doing here is I'm building I'm building a VCX-100 light freighter. This is the Ghost from Star Wars Rebels. I've been really on a big Star Wars kick lately. I just saw Rogue One when it first came out, and I just finished watching up through the second season of Rebels, the cartoon. And I've been meaning to rebuild this ship. Those of you who followed me for a while know that I have a version of it. It's a lot bigger, and it's made of heavier materials, and I think the heavier materials thing was a side effect of a version change between StarMades. That's the only thing I could think of, because why the hell would I build something with the heaviest block in the game? That is all I'm saying. So yeah, we're pretty much working on the cockpit right here. And took what I learned from building the first one and just sort of making sure I'm fixing what I didn't like about the first one. First thing first is the scale. This is going to be actually a little bit smaller. I think it's actually closer to the actual true scale of what the Ghost is supposed to be. Basically, I drew it out on graph paper. And I do all of my ships pretty much. If you guys are wondering where I come up with my designs, how I work it out, I have a lot of graph paper and lots of pencils. And I just work these shapes out, and I make sure that they work on paper. That way I'm able to actually build them. So, you know, if you're watching a video and there's a pause or something, even though they're sped up, if there's a noticeable pause, a lot of times I'm checking or counting blocks on a piece of graph paper. But man, graph paper is your friend for StarMade. It helps a lot. You know, it's you can figure out if something's gonna fit, something's feasible, and it saves you a lot of time because you don't have to have actually built something. I mean, a lot of times people do like to work within the game, and that's fun. I don't mind doing that. But I'm generally more happy with the end result of something that I've built after putting it down on some paper. So pretty much that's how that works. The Stanford, I don't know if I did the Stanford on graph paper. I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember drawing that one out on graph paper. I think I had a concept and I built it. And that actually makes a lot of sense, because if you think about the Stanford, and if you're familiar with that ship, and if you're not, you can go back and there's a video showing that build, at least the tour of it. But the hallways don't make any damn sense. You know, it's basically a compilation of a lot of different ideas, but the ideas don't have any rhyme or reason, and that is a problem with some of my designs. If I'm just, you know, just making it just off the cuff. So I'd like to try to think things out, plan things through on paper. That's just super important. But that's just the broad strokes. So once I actually have built something, I go in and I detail something. You know, I'll go over the same area like a couple of times, in fact. But it's just a matter of, you know, trying out the different shapes and you know, making sure that they look good. Mixing up textures is important, but you don't want to mix things up and make them parts that are too distracting. It's all just about trial and error, basically. But there's certain things that you can do that you or other people might like. You know, they'll say, oh, that's nice. You know, remember those little tricks, didn't remember to use those in decorating in the future. And you sort of come up with a little bit of a palette, at least in your head. Some people have literal palettes. Gmodism, for example, has, what is it, the 7x7 template video. If you check it out over on Gmodism's channel, you can see what he's got for his StarMade 7x7 thing. But, you know, that idea is just, you know, here's a way of doing it, and, you know, you can download it and copy it. But, you know, I don't do it so literally. I just sort of come up with these things in my head, and then every time I do something like that, instead of just using a template, I know it saves time using a template, but I've never been too smart when it comes to that, to be quite honest. I'm really happy with this nose piece here, actually. I'm happy how it came out. The original version of the Ghost that I had built, I don't know, it just didn't really work out so well. That was that one I drew out on paper, but a lot of it was trial and error, and I was still just getting sort of still building ships better. I wasn't quite good at building ships, and I'm still not going to say that I'm quite good at building ships, but I am massively better than I used to be. And you know, so every time you build a ship, you at least learn from your mistakes. That's how it works for me. I was really happy with the way that this one right here was taking shape. The cockpit and the nose cone look really good here. I'm really glad that Top has built this fantastic shipyard for this station. This is a lot of fun. I've been playing a lot on the server and just coming up with a lot of different builds. The last thing that I brought on to the server, and I was tweaking a little bit through the shipyard, was my Outrider, the YT-2400. And I'm not sure if I'm actually going to build that from scratch again, or if I'm just going to work with the one that I have. But we'll see how it goes. I'm trying to basically rework my classic Star Wars ships now that I know how to run systems better, and try to get something that is all sort of similar scale, because we have this whole new NPCs faction thing that we've got added to the game. And if you're not aware, if you haven't been following, basically the game now comes with 3 new factions. Not really new, but the Trading Guild is one. There's the Outcasts, which are like these aliens, I suppose. And then there are the Scavengers. And those guys are basically the space pirates. They're the jerks of the universe. But StarMade is not limited to just using these 3. You can actually use configs and set up additional custom factions that you've created. So obviously, I'm like thinking to myself that I've got to have a Galactic Empire faction. That would be amazing, you know. So I've been going through, I've been looking at the canon ships that I want to use and trying to come up with ideas, because you have to come up with the space stations also. And so there's all the different space stations you need to use, and a lot of the space stations are no longer canon, thanks to Disney, but whatever, you know. It's a sandbox game. My idea is use what you want, make your own canon. So things like Star Destroyers are really huge, and thankfully people on the StarMade dock have already gone through the hard work of building a lot of these things. And so, you know, basically what I would end up doing is mixing in some of my ships, and then maybe some of the bigger stuff that I don't want to tackle, I will sort of curate, choose through and select which ones would work, and set these things up into an actual NPC file and put that in and see how that works. And of course, if you get the Galactic Empire working, you gotta do the same thing with the Rebel Alliance. And then if you're gonna do those, you might as well do Starfleet, right? And then the Klingons. And if you're gonna do those, you might as well start doing other sci-fi. So in the end, my dream version of StarMade, my dream universe, is gonna be just chock full of different fictional like affiliations and factions, and see how they all interact with each other, and it'll be crazy. That's all I have to say about that. I'm pretty excited about the direction that this game is going. There's, of course, a few bugs that need to be worked out still. Planets are something that need to be really addressed, I think. They are really tough to play on in multiplayer. In single player, you might not notice it, but in multiplayer, it's really hard to sort of keep track of where people are. If you watch the recent videos that we all made together, where we were shooting at each other, those were all done on a planet, obviously, and we just didn't know where we were at any given time. So, yeah, it was weird. You know, we'd pop up and stuff, but there's a few shots. If you watch Gary's video, you'll see me, or maybe it was Doug Miss. I don't know. You watch the other videos, you see what I'm talking about, where there's certain places where I'd be standing in rock, where I'd walk through a wall or something like that. And, yeah, and I clearly wasn't doing that. So, yeah, it's something that needs to be worked on, but, I don't know. PvP in general, something that needs to be worked on, at least as far as astronaut stuff, but I understand that they're going to go back and they're going to address that part of the game after they get the space part sort of figured out. So, you know, it's coming. Be patient. We need ladders. I'd like to point that out. It would be really awesome if you guys could put, if you happen to be watching, members of Shine, ladders. I use these little wedge things. They kind of look like ladders to me, but they don't work like ladders. And I really would appreciate actual working ladders. I think that would be the bomb.